Okay.
If, like, you know.
Okay.
Paul Ortiz
Okay.
is famous.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Well, originally I come from Chicago.
Well, I meant where you were born.
That's where
your
parents?
Yes.
Okay, so my mother, she's Mexican, my father's Salvadorian.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in
Okay.
between.
Okay.
Right at this moment, we are recording.
Okay.
So we're good to go anytime.
All right, fantastic. All right, my name is Adolfo Romero. Today is June 21st, 2021. And today we're here in regards to the Machen Florida Opportunity Scholars Program. And we're here with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program, conducting several interviews. And today I have the honor to be with Miss
Carmen Aguiar.
And Erica Aguiar.
Okay, and today we're going to have our interviewer that will be conducting the questions, myself, Adolfo Romero, and
Me, Visilios, Kosmakos.
all right, fantastic. So to begin with, Carmen, my first question to you would be, I wanted to learn, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your childhood, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Cuba, and I was there until I was 8. And then my family came, and we went to Hialeah, Miami, Florida. We had relatives there that, were waiting for us. We came through they had to claim us, and we were able to come to the United States. And I've been there, since, oh my goodness, I stayed there till I got married.
So when you came into Cuba, you were with your parents back in Florida, right, when you arrived?
Yes, I was 8 years old.
Okay. And at that time, did you go to school, did you attend grammar school in Cuba or in Florida?
I don't remember much about school in Cuba, but I remember like from 2nd grade on in Miami, and then middle school and high school.
Okay.
They were all in Hialeah.
Did your parents attended school?
They went up to maybe, I think my dad was 5th grade, and my mom might have been 4th or 5th grade. Over there, once you were old enough to help out, school wasn't considered important, at least where they were from.
Okay. And when you were already over here in Hialeah, in Florida, with your parents, what did education mean to your parents and to you at that time as a child?
I was always, all they wanted for us, it's me and my 2 brothers, was that we graduate high school. If we graduated high school, that was like, you've made it. That was their thing. You graduate high school and you go work. I mean, that's what we did. They wanted us to be better than them, so that's, graduating high school. I wanted to go to college, and I had a counselor help me out, and I did a little bit of college. I just told my dad, this is how much I need, and he gave me a check, and I paid probably the first semester. And then someone offered me a job making like $10 an hour. So I thought, ooh. And that's what I did. When I finished that first semester, I wanted to be a social worker. I've got this great job. Ended up being a front for drugs, but that's a whole nother episode.
I didn't know that.
Anyways, and then from there on, it was, working. I lived at home, but for my parents, I think that was important. I was working as a secretary. I wasn't going to do a factory job. It was better than they had done.
Okay. Is there a reason when your parents arrived to Hialeah, what was the reason that they left Cuba for? Or
they wanted better for us.
so it was for the children to
it
give
was
them a better
in the
life.
early 70s, and things, my dad worked in the field. My mom didn't have to because she knew somebody that knew somebody, and she didn't have to go out and work. But and then, over there at that time, I think once you turn 15, especially the boys, they'd have to go, I don't want to say fight in the war, because I was young when I came, so I don't remember. But he would have to go, and be part of the government, and they didn't want that. They wanted better for us, and we had a lot of family here.
Okay.
So they,
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers.
2 brothers, and they all came with you when you guys
Yes.
first moved out? Okay. Now let's go a little bit forward. So you're saying you graduated high school, you ended up finishing, and then you found a job. How long did you work there for?
At that one particular place, I don't remember, honestly. Once, it was a front. But anyways, but I always had like office jobs. I never worked like at a fast food or anything like that. So I was okay, and I was okay with that, And, I met my husband, and then we had 3 kids, and I would always tell them, you're going to college, We'd always drive by PHSC, which is not PHSC, MDCC, Miami-Dade Community College. And I'd always tell them, you're going to go there, you're going to go there, because that was better than what I did.
That's very interesting. You're saying like, so at first you were like, you're going to community college rather than university level.
Right, to me, that was a level above high school,
Exactly, and for parents, I think it's difficult knowing what's out there, what type of programs, what type of information.
And I think what happened with my parents, they didn't know, like of course later on I found out, well, there was grants or there was, scholarship, all these things that you can use to go to school. But my parents, as we graduated high school, that was like, hey, they were proud of that,
Of course.
Do you think working in a professional setting as a secretary in the office space as opposed to, like, let's say a factory,
Yeah.
do you think that might have influenced, your perception of, education, or, the idea that your kids should pursue something higher?
Well, I thought working in an office was nice. I don't have to flip burgers. I have a 9 to 5. I thought, hey, and I was making, at the time, I thought was good money. But I think deep down I wanted them to, I knew there was more,
All right, so now that you had Erica, let's say Erica comes into play. Erica, tell me a little bit about your experiences when you went to high school. You went in Miami, around Hialeah.
We went in, I went to high
we have
school
moved here.
in Spring Hill. So we moved when I was going into 3rd grade. Yeah, so we moved to Spring Hill, also kind of related to opportunity.
Yeah.
My dad at the time was I almost said florist. No, he
No.
installed flooring,
was-
and there just wasn't as much work in Miami.
Miami was hectic. It was,
We knew that there were good schools where we moved to. We had a friend, very similar situation, who moved there, and so I started elementary school in Spring Hill.
Okay, and for you, Erica, when did you decide about, college? When did it first come out? Everybody has a different moment. They're like, I
Yeah.
can see myself in college.
The memory that sticks out the most to me, so it wasn't if you go to college, it was
When.
you're going. When and where is a little more flexible. And my sophomore year of high school, I had always done really well in school. There were some award ceremonies that people were really annoyed at because
Yes.
I just kept winning everything. And I remember said, I want to go to the University of Florida. Like, I heard it's a great
Yeah.
school. I don't know that I even talked to y'all about that.
no, but I know the guidance counselor
Yeah, and I told the guidance counselor, I said, I would love to go to UF. It's the best school, I'm the best student. And she said, people like you don't go there. That's not for you. How about
Yeah.
we think about the community college? And there's nothing wrong with community colleges, but that was my first moment of, oh, okay.
Oh, and then she worked hard.
And then I worked hard. And I don't know if she said it because I was first gen, or if, my family was lower income, or because I'm Latina. I don't know. But she said it. And I said, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so 2 years later, when my acceptance came for UF and my full ride scholarship through the MFOS program, that acceptance letter was right on her desk.
Oh yeah, she's the one that explained it to us.
I knew that college had to happen. I knew that I wanted to do something. I had spent a decent amount of time hearing. I remember sitting in my backyard with my abuelo and him telling me everything that had to happen in Cuba for them to get to the States and how much work he had to do. And I remember thinking, I have to do something because this has to be for them. This is not just for me, but everyone gave up something for us to be here, and to not take advantage of it would be, I think, disrespectful to them. And that was a big driver for me.
Have you, I'm not sure if your grandparents are still around, but have they seen what has happened, like you finishing school? Have they seen those moments?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what it means to them? I mean, from your perspective, maybe from mom, I want to hear what.
Oh, they're very happy. They are like the grandfather she's talking about. He was always saying, that's my granddaughter, He always knew that you would go places. But getting back to her in college, I would always say, you're going to go to college. And then she told me one then, I don't know when, but she said, why not university, Mom? Why do I have to go to... I didn't know the difference, but she knew. I don't know if that was maybe sophomore
I don't remember
year.
that.
Yeah.
But it tracks. It sounds like it.
That's one of the things I want to talk, the process. How was the process from going from high school, getting the resources, knowing the right people? Because like you were saying, you did not know there was university, what do you have to do? How did you become knowledgeable, or how did you push yourself to even look outside?
I think it helped that I worked at a school. I was a bookkeeper at a school. But I have to be honest with you, I just thought it was something that you go, because in my head it was community college. And I remember being at an award ceremony once and going to the restroom, and there was some parents talking about where their kids were going to go. And I was like, how do they know? What,
And this is like a couple years before I was going to college.
Yeah. And I felt like, like out of place, like I don't know. But we were lucky. Her high school had a really big, like a scholarship, but it wasn't even
the scholarship office.
Yeah,
I wouldn't give them a lot of credit.
Okay,
I'll be
never
honest.
mind.
They
Okay.
had people there that you could sit down and do scholarships.
Oh no, I remember now. It was with my other daughter,
Who's older than me.
who's older than her, and the college came out and did a presentation, and they talked about all the ways that kids can get in, and like I think it was like the top 10 would get a free. 4-year degree, not degree, but
4-year tuition.
Tuition, and I said,
And I got that.
You did,
And I
you
remember-
didn't want to do it, but wait, but I remember the lady up there talking, the financial aid, saying, "There's no excuse for you not to go. If they want to go to school, there's no excuse. There's a lot of ways that they can earn, scholarship grants." So I thought, oh. And then we're sitting with the guidance counselor, with my oldest, and they're telling her, what do you want to do? And she was like, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to leave home. And the guidance counselor told her, well, you can stay home. You don't have to go, And she did. She did the 2 years community college, and then she went on and got her teaching degree.
That was
And
not
so
me.
I thought, this is what Erica could do, but no.
Yeah, not so much.
Okay, this is one of the questions that I've been trying to figure it out, and I've been asking myself, and I want to hear from your opinion. What is it culturally? Latinos, it's very difficult to leave home for their parents. So from your side, how did you allow, like Erica, like in the first 2 years, you were community college, right?
No, not her. That was my other daughter.
Okay,
I went straight here.
you went straight.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Erica just always had a way of, it is hard. And we left Miami and moved, 5 hours north. And that was like, whoa. That was big for us to do. Like we left, I got the biggest guilt trip from my mom. I think I still do, and it's been 20 years. But that is something that you don't do. You don't. So I knew that it was better for her and it's what she really wanted. And it was a little hard, but the 2 hours, we got used to it, and yeah, we did it. But it is, but I think the newer generation,
what happened when Erica left to college? Like how did it impact you, like internally? I'm losing a daughter, or am I gaining, you're thinking in the future for something better for her?
I think the fact that she went through the ROTC program in high school, I think that prepared me. Because they would send her, like she went to California for what, a week or 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's a STEM camp.
Yeah, and she was always like involved in them, and her teacher, one of her teachers was really into the UF and going away, and she's gonna love it, and I didn't want to hold them back. I didn't want to do what my mom did to me. I never wanted to guilt them, or, I wanted her to go, and I told her, even if I don't see you, if I know that you're happy and doing what you want to do, I'm gonna be okay. But it was hard. I cried a little,
She
but,
still says that. 100% still says, do it. If I see you and I know you're happy, That's all that
yeah.
matters. Which is very, I think, a different mentality than probably a lot of Latino families have. I think my grandparents are still like, so why did you go?
Yeah.
They also don't really understand what I do.
Yeah, they don't.
I think some of them still think I'm a journalist, which is what my undergrad degree is.
I think I mean, for me, Erica is always so passionate about whatever she does that she makes that come across. So you see that, you know.
So coming from, you mentioned how, family is a huge part of the Latino culture. How do you think that, going to college and being essentially the first person in your family to go to university, how do you think that affected your extended family, your cousins, your siblings? Do you think that it might have encouraged them, being so good in school? Do you think, did you use your position to help, maybe your cousins that were younger than you or anything like that?
I think it definitely was a huge thing.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember really vividly our neighbor back home, who was a freshman at UF, sat with me, did all my essays, helped me, maybe not the FAFSA because you had already done that, but sat with me, did all these things. And I remember being like, okay, this made it so much easier. I'm going to do this. And actually my cousin, who's only 27 days older than me, she went to community college and then she transferred to UF. And I remember talking to her about UF. I think she came on a visit one time.
Yeah, and loved it.
I just tried to connect her to as many things, and I was like, this is, what you could do here, and this is what's more open to us when you come to a place like UF. That she was done with her 2 years, and I wanted her and everyone to know. I probably did it to my younger brother too, and anyone. Here's the doors that are open when you come to a place like UF, and there's all these opportunities, and there were a lot of people. I don't have many cousins, so that was my youngest cousin, and she's older than me, so I can't say that it impacts future generations in that way. But my nephew, Cooper, who was just born a month ago, maybe. I know that college is going to be so different for him, and that's the huge thing about first gen is that for me and my generation, college was like the hope, right? We hope that you do this. I know you expected it, but generally. And now, this next generation will be expected.
And honestly, I had a friend who told me, who had gone to college and all of that, and she says, you can't deny them that experience. It's not the same, because like my other daughter, she wanted to live at home, and I remember Megan saying, when they have to experience the going away, the living on their own, but I do.
I think it definitely is it has changed the way that I view everything. And I mean, part of that is my job, because that is what I do now as a profession, but the extended community that I developed and that I now try to support through my work or through other things, I think is really because other people helped me. So I feel this significant obligation to help other people. It's definitely sort of tracked it down, I think.
So kind of just going off what you just said, how do you think that this affected your kind of greater Latino community, so your neighbors, the people you go to church with, things like that?
We don't have a super strong one in my hometown, just because
it's just us.
It's just us.
Yeah.
But what I think it does, especially with MFOS, is it helps see the success, right? I mean, we're doing this interview in La Casita, which was so important to me as a student here at UF, and I think every time I talk about, I can't tell you how many people from, whether it be your middle, you're like, oh, this person is kind of interested in you. I've met with some people that she works with their parents or that they're at the school, and there's sort of this immediate connection that's like, hey, you can do this too.
Yeah, I've said that to a lot of.
And I think when we go back to Miami and visit our family there, I think it has sort of opened up this it's a thing. Erika went to UF.
Yeah.
Can you believe she did this thing?
My mother will hear stuff on TV. My mother's 82. And she'll say, oh, that university Erica went to, that's a big deal,
Everyone, people I haven't spoken to in years know. And I think that's how it sort of rippled out, is that everyone sort of looks, I don't want to say looks at me, but looks at this success.
I do. I learn a lot from her. I am always calling her, am I saying this right? I'm serious. And I'm always checking with her to make sure, is this appropriate? Is it, you know?
I mean, I think the biggest impact that I've seen is that you started going to school and that you're working on your associates because it
Right.
opened this idea of there's no
I wanna
right
do
way to
it.
do
I
this. Like,
know.
I want to do this. Like,
It is hard though, but
yeah, it's not easy. But you're doing it, and that's, you know, however many years
I
after
know.
you tried, not too many years. You're still young. But I think that's been a huge sort
Yeah.
of understanding, like, oh,
I want to
people
do
can
that. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I was going to move on to those questions, but I think you're beating me a little bit forward. But before we get to those questions, I want to ask Erica, going back to the Latino question, which also touches, you're a student at UF. Sometimes, parents, they're talking to you on the phone, you live so close. It's like you're attending school, but in a sense, you're a commuter. You got to travel back to your family on the weekends, visit your families. Did you have that type of situation with your family where you go on the weekends? Like you're in school, but you're really kind of like still commuting because you're visiting your family. How do you settle those differences, being in school full time, but still at home?
Yeah, it's like a part of you is still there. I went home every other weekend for my first year. And I mean, it was tough. I cried so much because I knew that I was here. I knew that I was smart enough to get in, but there was this imposter syndrome of like, I mean, I remember showing up to my first day of class and seeing all these people who just knew what they were doing. And in reality, they probably didn't, but it looks like it. And I mean, I remember I called you crying when I failed my first exam. And I think what I figured out after a long time was that I am multifaceted and I can exist and I can be a student, I can be a good family member. Part of it going back to her saying, we just want you to be happy. There was never this typical pull of you need to come home. Like, you haven't been home in a while. What are you doing? Which I think set me up so much for success and is what I tell my students now all the time. Like, you have to be all in. Because what you're talking about is kind of like, we call it like camp syndrome, where you come here, you're only here for 5 days, you go home, you come back. You never get invested.
And I think what helped was that she got involved in so many things.
Yeah,
And
I made this home.
Yeah, she did. And we would try to come. So we'd say, well, we'll go and we'll come have lunch.
Yeah.
That's not even a 2 hour drive.
And I do think what really helped is that when we moved from Miami to Spring Hill. So I had done the culture shock already.
Yeah, that was.
Because I remember, so in Miami, my nickname is Americana.
Yeah,
And then I
Americana,
get to Spring Hill, and everyone's like, "You're something different." Like everyone, and I was like, "Whoa!"
We stood out. Yeah.
So when I got here, I sort of had this larger understanding of the Latino community, right? That there are Afro-Latinx people, and that there are so many different ways to be Latino, and there's not one way to do it. So I hear a lot of people come here and they're like, "Oh my God, this is huge culture shock." I didn't get that as much because it had already happened.
Yeah.
But I give a lot of credit to both my parents because they were like, "Go, do great things. We're proud of you. We'll see you." So much that I only came home one summer. Every other summer I was in Gainesville doing things, studying abroad, working, doing whatever. And it was like a non-starter. It was just...
But that's her. I mean, that's how she is.
And how I was raised, take credit.
And it goes back to that, the parenting. And I wanted to touch on that because everything that you're mentioning right now, Erica, it wouldn't have been possible without your mother's being able to let go. And maybe also with all the experiences that you've done, Erica, like, even before college, high school, being active, your mom was already used to all that.
Yeah.
She
That's
could kind of
true.
like let go a little.
That's true.
She was independent. You became yourself independent.
And honestly, I think what I wanted to do was, my mom made me feel very guilty about moving 5 hours away, and if I went somewhere and didn't take it was, anyways, long story. But I didn't want to do that to them. I have 3 children, and they're all scattered, And I said, I will never make them feel guilty for wanting to better themselves, to move, to get away from here,
Never away from you.
No.
Did you ever? So obviously, she was super involved in school, right? You as a parent have to, drive, 6 hours a day from this to that to that. Did you, and that's obviously a lot more work compared to someone that doesn't do as much. Did you ever feel a a bigger sense of commitment to something bigger than yourself, even though you have to put in more work?
Like my parents never did that for me. When we moved to Miami, my mom didn't drive. She didn't have to where we lived. Walk to the little bodega, and my mother never drove, never, so I did this for them. I wanted them to do all those things. Like, I'll never forget, I wanted to do ballet, and they wouldn't, no one could take me, And so yeah, God, did I drive. Cheerleading and ROTC.
It doesn't help that none of my sister, me, or my brother, none of us got our licenses till after we were 18.
Yeah, that's true.
So my mom worked, so in our hometown, there's like the high school, the middle school, and the elementary school. And she worked at the middle school. So it wasn't like she had to drive all over.
Oh, no, but
we
it
were
was
all connected. But you definitely had to drive a ton.
Extracurricular, yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind. I loved seeing them do that, and I didn't get a chance to do any of that. I don't know if because my mom didn't get involved or I didn't ask. I don't know, but I lived a lot through them,
In a very healthy way.
Yes.
It was never. Never crossed the line. You were always good.
All right, Carmen. So this is the question now. Now we're moving a little bit. Let's fast forward a little bit. When did you decide to go back to school? Tell us a little bit about where did that stem from?
I was so excited. Like, my other daughter had graduated, become a teacher. I want to say she had already moved. She lives in Louisiana. Erica was here. I think my son might have started college already. I don't remember. And so no one needed me at home, And honestly, I would come home and it was like, there's got to be more, And I thought, I wanted to make them proud of me. I wanted to get a degree. I mean, my dream was always social work, but I was working in accounting, and I said, well, let me get an accounting degree. I like doing taxes and all of that. And at first, it was great. I loved it. It got a little hard, but I enjoyed it. I don't know if you remember, I'd call you, and I took I think it was a geology class, and it was so interesting. And my husband's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, I must have not paid attention in high school, but this is really interesting. But then I got high blood pressure, and I started taking some meds, and the meds kind of made me groggy, and I took a little bit of time off, and then COVID, so I'm about 4 classes away from an associate's in science.
From an associate!
And
That's
I know, and I have to get back. But now after this, I'm going to do it. I was kind of like, all right, I'm 58 years old. What am I going to do with But I think just to have it, just to say, hey, I did it.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But it was them, or her.
Okay, I think you answered a little bit about the question, but what does the degree mean for you to get it now? Like, what does that represent for you? Like, you're giving back.
I think pride. I think it's pride.
And go ahead.
I didn't realize, I never thought much about college until Erica started, and just how much she was learning, and it changed her. And I think it's pride. You feel pride, you have a degree, or and it doesn't have to be that you have money, therefore you have a degree. It's not, anyone can get a degree. Right?
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Knowledge, that's it, yes.
Knowledge.
Yes.
Do you think you getting your associate's degree is going to have an impact on your grandkids or your great-grandkids?
I think so. Grandma has yeah.
Well, I think it again communicates the expectation.
Yeah. But I think now moving on, like my other daughter and her husband both have a degree, Their child, it's expected, I think. Now it's what you see. Like with us, I think with my parents, the high school diploma was like, hey, my kids made it, So I really think that with every generation, especially with us, Latinos, that every generation you get a little better. You strive for a little better.
I want to ask you, what advice do you give to parents what advice would you give to parents to help their children to succeed at that level? How you've been helping Erica, the way that you guys done it together, whichever way it was, you've done something to get not just Erica but yourself together on top. And I want you to kind of share. I know there's no one answer, one secret to all, but
I think support and just encouragement, and you can do it, and how can I help you, and there's so much out there I didn't know about, but there's so much helps, like even the guidance counselors, anybody, there's so much out there to help you find the right college, even if it is a community college, start off there, you know.
Yeah, it makes me think like parents having a difficulty like with fear, maybe fear of the unknown, and it's like, how do you make them get out of their comfort zone to look out for resources, you know? Sometimes it's just a click away, but we
and
don't.
like honestly, what helped me a lot was going to the college night at the high school, and it was just a community college, but they had such good information. Like I remember her saying, don't let money keep you from going, because there's so much out there to help these kids that, you know, and honestly help them throughout high school too, because that's where it starts, you know.
Do you feel closer connection with your daughter now that, you know, you are going through school, so you're able to kind of, you know, really visualize a lot of these experiences a lot more, and, you know, the type of trials your daughter went through?
I
Do you
think
feel closer?
so.
Yeah.
Even if they're different, but it's hard. But it's hard for me as an adult, you know, well, you're an adult too, but it is different to have a full-time job, come home, sit in front of a computer, go to class. So you do have to do it like right out of high school.
It's the easiest, yeah.
That is the easiest.
I do put on my counselor and advisor hat a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, you should be asking this question.
Yes.
And don't take more than 6 credits. Which is kind of funny that, not that the roles have reversed, but I see.
I do see the reversal. Oh my
A
God.
little bit.
I've learned so much from her.
I've learned so much from you.
But definitely be supportive and ask questions, because I didn't know, like, what do you want to do? Or, you know, and sometimes I think they don't know what they want to do or what. You changed your mind.
Oh, yeah, 100 times.
I mean, you can do that.
You know, you don't have to know the information. Like, you didn't necessarily know how to specifically support me at the University of Florida. But you knew what to ask. You know, how are you doing? Like, you cognitively knew there are resources. I don't know the names of them, but there is something there. And she was always saying, like, ask questions, like, talk to people. Like, there is so much that you can learn.
Because I think sometimes, they're just like Erica, poor baby. She's here, and I mean, it was a lot.
It was a lot, but
there was a lot of support though.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of it, most of it, I will say, from the MFOS program, which she knew Leslie's name, even though you just met her a couple years ago. You know, however many years from when I graduated. She said, you have a program that supports you. Go to them. Again, she didn't know the specifics. So for our like family members, you don't have to know exactly, but you know. Okay,
I'm still learning stuff about.
Go to Leslie, go to Erica, go to whoever it is, and they will help you. And I think that was the thing, is that there was like constant support. You can do literally anything you want, and just pushing. You don't have to be able to quiz me on chemistry.
I know.
But that, like, I knew that I was always going to be okay, because they were always in my corner, even if they didn't know exactly what I was doing. Still probably don't know all of it.
That's beautiful. I wanted to ask, with the Machen Florida Opportunity Scholars program, let's move down a little bit on that. How was your experience? Did you attend like, there's different events for incoming students. How was that goodbye on those receptions? I know that they do like different events, like before the parents leave, they go playing bowling. I'm not sure what this year at least. So I just want to hear, how was that moment letting go of your daughter?
I don't think
we didn't do it with MFOS.
No.
So I moved in on like a Wednesday, and that MFOS event was on Sunday. But we drove up, and I am a very nervous person. I remember this. We said goodnight or goodbye the night before. I said, when you leave campus, none of the waterworks. Just say, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because you all were actually coming back like 3 days later for convocation.
Which was beautiful.
But we moved in, And I think there was just this moment where I was okay. Like a friend of mine
But
from
you
high
cried a
school
lot.
was
Yeah,
living on
yeah.
my floor. But I think the harder goodbye was convocation. And I think that was the moment of Sunday before classes, and I, hugged you goodbye, and I was like,
that
this
was
is,
tough.
I am starting my life. And
Alone.
alone in this residence hall with 2 roommates I'd never met. No money in my bank account because my scholarship hadn't come in yet. And that was a really, really scary moment.
That was. Yeah.
But cell phones are a thing, and I called, I think, on my way to every class,
Yeah.
like.
And you
this
cried
was
a lot the first.
first 6 months.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel, Carmen? Like when your daughter would call you in this, situations that you had no control over at that point. You're far away. What can I do for my daughter? And did that hurt you?
I think just her telling me about it, because a lot of times she would say, "Mom, I think she would resolve it herself, but she was always worried about money. And it was like, how am I going to do this? And, but she managed. I mean,
Yeah.
but it was tough. But I think she always managed to talk herself through it. I couldn't say anything. Mom, just listen, don't try to fix it. And she would, until the next day.
And that goes back to what I was saying, the
Yeah.
support system.
Yeah.
That support system where it's like, sometimes I don't need advice. I need a friend. somebody
Someone
hear
to
me.
listen to,
listen.
yeah.
All the time.
And that's the beauty of it. So
Yeah.
it's like, in order for a student to succeed, you just don't need your parents' side, but you need somebody to listen.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I just need someone.
Right.
And like Erica, you're saying, like at that point, you're brand new to UF. You don't have. I believe at that point you didn't have many friends, so it's like your mom is your
No.
central figure still.
Yeah.
So you bring her as much as you bring her over through the phone, even through phone, whatever it
Yeah.
is, you have that connection with her.
Yeah.
All right, so now moving a little bit into the associate's degree. What would you like to do once you're done? Do you think you would like to continue, proceed? At this point, you have,
Honestly, I would love to, but I don't, it's tough.
I know.
I'm closer to retirement but I don't know. I would, even if it's just for fun,
Exactly.
or, I mean, not just for fun, but just take some classes just to learn, not to use, because I'm almost on the other side now, but I mean, of work, but just to learn, yeah.
And I think that creates it goes back to that knowledge-driven knowledge that you want to eat, hungry for knowledge, and you're passing that attribute to your family, to your daughters, to your children.
It was even I think my husband got a little excited listening to me talk about it, and he says, well, I can take some classes. I think he'd want to just to learn.
He would audit everything. He would
yeah.
just love to sit in the back.
Yeah.
When you mentioned learning, right? You earlier mentioned that you took a geology class, and that was like something fantastic. So do you think not only are you learning skill sets, but you're just kind of opening your mind to different ideas and possibilities. And you're able to have conversations with people about things that you normally wouldn't be able to.
Yes.
How do you think that's changed your life, or how do you think that's changed kind of the way you view things?
Well, I can, I mean, I can engage in conversation and not feel like, oh, I don't know what they're talking about, or I don't want to say something dumb, or, it opens you up.
I was going to say that because I just had a conversation a couple of days with friends about that.
Yes.
There's people that if you're educated, you have a different grasp of reality based off what you've been taught. You have knowledge, knowledge that you don't know unless you know. Do you guys talk about that knowledge, share I'm just trying to see Mom, did you read about the process of this, or it's just you never thought I would do that for my mom.
When it comes to social justice,
There you go.
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
But she's taught me all of that.
Yes.
I don't think.
But it's really cool. I think the amount of change that's happened in the world. People are always like, oh well, my parents are too old to learn about that. And I have found that, kind of coupled with your associates, but also my dad.
Yeah. He's come
It's
along.
been this really cool. Hey, here's this new thing. I don't expect you to know what I'm talking about, but let me educate you.
But I can relate to that because my mother will tell me, well, this is how we were taught, and this is what I know, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I've been able to okay, I was kind of taught that way, but it's really the wrong way. This is the way we should be thinking about it or.
But I mean, it's cool to have those conversations
Yeah.
and it not be this immediate shut off.
Yeah.
And I think part of
Yeah.
that is education, but part of that is
Yes.
also the relationship that we have as a family, that we can talk about things. Because, there's a privilege to education, right? There's a privilege to getting to take classes you've never taken before and just learn for the fun of it that I don't think everyone gets. And
No.
I think it's opened up a lot of doors for us to just talk about things, and selfishly, it's also reminded me that my parents are really smart, and that is not linked to a degree. My dad is so smart. He just, college wasn't
smart. Yeah,
it wasn't it wasn't an opportunity he had. He went straight to work, and it's constantly reminded me, after getting a master's degree and all of this, they are brilliant people who just maybe don't have some letters after their name. And I think that's been a really cool moment in our relationship for sure.
But and what exactly do you think that is, right? So how exactly do you think your parents raised you to develop, that allowed you to have that foundation to begin with? To be a good person, to kind of have that mindset that even though you're not necessarily educated in the proper sense, you're still incredibly brilliant and you're still incredibly able to communicate effectively. Because that foundation is important. Because the absence of it, you wouldn't have a daughter like that.
And like I think that they stopped going to school because that's what they had to do and that's what they did, and they pushed us and they made sure that you get a high school graduation because that's you need that. That's you're gonna learn. And they would tell us like they weren't good in math because they didn't finish, but you need to be good in math, and those types of things. But
I think part of it that I've noticed as sort of the
right.
person over here is, I don't know that our grandparents asked a lot of questions.
No.
And I think that you and Dad have both been like, well, we're really we want to know what you're doing. And I think that has then led to being more curious and inquisitive, which has led to more open relationships. I think that's sort of the foundation of, I don't want to say that you're doing what they didn't do, because that they were
and
fantastic
they
people,
did what they could. I mean, you raised us to be good, honest, and for us to be better than them, to go a little
also
further.
The hard work. I mean,
Yeah.
my dad's dad, my abuelo, I think the agreement in Cuba was he worked 10 years in the sugarcane fields in order
and
for them
to leave.
to leave, right? Mm-hmm. So I've always and my dad has always said, you work hard, you work honestly, and I think some of that is really huge. That, again, going back to sacrifice, they gave up everything. So I think for you all to go, okay, they gave up everything for us to go to high school.
Right.
We did all of this for you to go to college.
Yeah.
I think it's compounding in that way.
And they left. I mean, my mother left everyone, all her family.
Yeah. And right now that is Grandpa still around? I'm not sure. So
No.
So does Grandma?
Yeah.
Both are
Okay.
here.
Does Grandma now? She knows that you're going, getting your associates. What
Yeah.
does Grandma think?
She's very proud of me.
Aw,
Yeah, she is.
Did she ever thought that you were like, oh wow, like mija, like you made it, like oh.
We really haven't talked about that. They're very proud of the kids, having gone to college and all of that. But we really haven't. She doesn't know how I do it. Oh my God, how do you do it? You got to work all day. But yeah, she's proud. I mean, maybe that we don't really talk about it. It's one of those things that
We talk about it too much here.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Vasily?
That's about it for me.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry, you caught me off guard there. Hold on.
You're good.
Not.
So maybe we could talk a little bit. I was thinking maybe tribulations. A little bit about some of those tribulations that you've gone through in the process, during the process.
Specifically as a UF student, so UF is an incredibly prestigious school. It's people are here very competitive and whatever. I mean, and as someone that doesn't necessarily, and you're competing with people that had, essentially their entire life planned out, and all this stuff. How did you feel about that? Did you, you mentioned impostor syndrome. How did you develop the resiliency, and how did you deal with existing in such a competitive environment?
Yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind is getting MFOS, is getting the matching scholarship, because first what happened was I got in and I went to school that day. UF only has one decision deadline. And this is so cheesy, I had orange and blue markers, and I just in every class wrote on a piece of computer paper, I will get in, I will get in. And all these people around me who families were really well off, they're like, I know I'm gonna get in. And to me, this was the like everything. And I got in, and I remember this. So this is like one of my favorite memories of my life. I'm sitting, for some reason, my grandparents and my cousin were visiting.
They were visiting.
And I'm, results
around
come out
the
at
computer,
6.
yeah.
I don't even, they come in my room, it's 5:30, refreshed. My mom is giving me this speech. I'm so proud of you. Whatever happens, you've gotten into all these other schools. We are so proud of you.
Yeah.
I am not listening.
Yeah.
Refreshed. I hit it, and it says, congratulations, you've been admitted. And I look up, and my entire family is in gator gear. I don't know where you got those shirts on short notice. All of them, my mom, my dad, and I couldn't believe it. And that was just such like a special moment. But then the financial aid letter came in with loans. I mean, and we had a conversation before.
Well, she got into USF.
Yeah, USF.
And that came in with all this is how much?
UCF, FSU.
I forgot about
all the schools.
And everything was money,
Yeah. And we had the conversation about how my best option would be to go to community college. I had gotten a 2-year tuition scholarship there. She's like, this is the cheapest option. And it was really hard for me to let go of that. And so we get these loans, and I'm defeated. And for me, I remember this moment. I had never thought about our financial situation ever. There were some times when, I broke my arm one time and stuff. I remember thinking about all these things, but it was never...
Well, we've always been paycheck to paycheck.
But I never felt different.
No.
We always supported. And I remember that was the minute where I said, this is where it's different. Mm-hmm. And then, a week later, I get another letter, new financial aid package saying, I still have this letter framed in my office. You've been awarded the Florida Opportunity Scholarship, now Machen Florida Opportunity Scholarship. You are getting all these grants. Zero money from you.
Well, it didn't quite say that.
It didn't say it exactly in those terms.
Because I was like...
We took it to an advisor.
Yeah.
And she's like, this doesn't happen. I was like, you're right, it's a scam. She goes, no, this doesn't happen. This is huge. And I don't remember what you did. Probably cried. Yeah. I sure did. And that was that first, I think, really hard moment that I was like, okay, hard work does pay off. But countless exams failed. Countless student organizations told me no. I remember I wanted to be an orientation leader, and I got denied, and I was so tough. Angry. I call her, probably crying. I was like, I can't believe this is all I wanted. That next day, I went to a meeting to go study abroad in Australia. I said, if they don't want me, I'm studying abroad. And there were lots of hard times there too. Yeah. It's hard to pinpoint one.
That was your first year, I think.
My second year. But there were so many times where I felt pretty downtrodden. Where how can I do this? How can I get better than this? And I think the resiliency came in with doing it. You said, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a moment where you were like, you have to stay because we've already, the scholarship is already paid for the semester. If you leave now, we have to pay and we can't. Yeah. So finish it out. And I think that mentality of just go a little bit further, just one. And then all of a sudden, UF was home. I graduated. I had met the greatest friends of my life. It just happened. But I would be lying to you if there weren't times when I was walking across campus, sobbing next to a tree on the phone with her because it just was.
It was hard.
It was very up and down, but.
Especially the first year.
The first year, throw it away. It was so bad. It was so hard. It was so bad.
Erica, at that point, how did the MFOS help out to resolve some of those issues? Did they help out? Did the program itself help out to?
It helped with everything. So the financial aid, obviously huge, but even just teaching you how to budget. Because you get this $8,000 or $9,000 check, and they're like, hey, go. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what to do with this. And they sat us down and said, this is how you budget, this is credit, this is how you renew your scholarship. But then it was the mentor that I had, and it was the class I took. our old offices in Tigert Hall on campus, I remember sitting in a chair crying to Leslie Pendleton. And then that was my office as a professional. There were so many things that it was just someone to go to who understood what I was going through, who wasn't shaming me, who wasn't assuming, oh, well, how do you not already know this? They were always there for me. But actually, I think the biggest piece is my best friend Agassi, who was in MFOS. I met him as a first year, and it was the same. Like, we were going through it together. And I think the fact that MFOS could bring me people like him who literally also an immigrant from Cuba, also part of this scholarship, like also struggling. We were in the same major. It helped so much that I had people who their last names weren't on buildings. They were also struggling with money, and I could talk to them so openly. And MFOS is the reason I graduate. I will say that wholeheartedly. You donate to MFOS sometimes, which I think is so funny, but it is. When I walked across that graduation stage, it was like my family, and it was MFOS that got me there. That is, all of the credit goes to MFOS because of how it's structured and how much it meant to have someone on campus know my name and know that I mattered, and that they were going to help me navigate this very confusing life. Definitely never let me get lost at all.
And that's what I wanted to say, like MFOS becomes your second family.
Yes.
Your mom's not there, but MFOS seems to offer similar qualities of support, meaning advice, compassion. You know, like they're there for you. The things that make, you know, communication, move the kid forward, the student forward, you know. And I think that's one of the things, I mean, in education that seems to be lacking, having that open lines of communication between professors, staffs, advisors, family. And right now, I think what we're discussing is kind of like everything coming together. Like, you know, you have to have this communications open in order to get the most out of it. And I feel like the MFOS has been successful at providing those specific qualities.
Yes, it was 1,000% a second family.
There you go.
Without a doubt. Still is.
Wow. Wow, it's like it's such a beautiful story. You're leaving me very like speechless.
Aww.
Like, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. So what's the plan now? Like, you're about to finish your associates. You're done with your master's, Erica. Is there like a possibility or potential for a PhD maybe in the nearby future?
Oh,
or
yes,
right now?
1,000%. I feel like it's just, I've got to do it, right? There's so many opportunities for me.
She loves school. She loves learning.
I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah.
But so my abuelo, when I was in high school, I was in ROTC, and he used to call me El Comandante, which I think he thought I was Billy in the Navy. But it made me so proud for him to be like, my granddaughter is doing these big things.
Yeah.
I just think what a cool legacy to them to be a doctor. I wasn't going to do it medically because I'm very squeamish, but yeah, I think a PhD or an EDD was 1,000% something that I want, because at this point I know I can do it. I know I've got my family behind me. I know that it's like, why not? And I think that is wild for me, thinking about my first year of college when I was crying and felt like quitting, to now say, why not a PhD? Like, that change is so significant. I'm not going to give it a timeline because I have no clue when I want to, and I really enjoy my free time right now. But if we watch this in 5 or 6 years, I'm sure there will be some sort of additional letters behind my name.
What do you want to get your PhD in, and what do you specifically want to study?
It's definitely going to be something education-based, so maybe higher education, leadership, student services, something in that realm, because this is like my life's calling, I think. But beyond that, I don't care where. I just know I don't want to pay for it,
Of course.
which someone else will. But yeah, I definitely think that is something in that my dream would be for my dissertation to be on first generation students, absolutely, and how they make college decisions, and you know what goes into the family aspect. I think there's some really cool stuff that can be researched there. It's not fully formed yet, but we'll get there.
My next question, I want to talk about legacy. You mentioned the word legacy, Erica. First, Carmen, I would like to know, what legacy would you like to leave behind? What is your legacy that you want to leave behind?
It's like a Hamilton lyric.
Oh, I don't know. That's hard right now.
Think of your great nephews looking at this somewhere down the road.
Think of Cooper.
Just, I don't know how to say it.
You can say it in however you want to say it.
No, just I mean, like, my kids are always validating me as a mom because did I do enough? Did I, and I want to be able to do enough to be remembered as positive, someone that, not that I pushed, but that I was like their wind, or their...
You're the wind beneath our wings?
Yes,
you
but
are.
like, that kind of, like not a mentor, that's... Help me out here.
I think the way that I'm perceiving it, not put words in your mouth, is you did it for us. You did everything you could for us to be happy and healthy and successful, and I think that's 1,000% an understatement.
I don't need anything big, just,
You were a great mom. I would say the best. You are. Let me not put this in past tense yet. You are fantastic.
Yeah, that...
20 out of 10. 20 would recommend.
That you can count on me and that,
No, that's great.
That's beautiful. No, that's perfect. Erica, same question goes to you. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Right now, I think this answer will change a lot. I think my legacy right now is my students a little bit. It is so cool to see other Machen scholars who are coming after me go off and do these great things and who have such similar experiences to me, who have, faced some of the worst things that life can throw at you with family death and losing homes and all of these horrible things, and then they're graduating. And for me to have a little bit of part of that, I would sort of like my obituary to read, she helped, 1,000 students attain college. Like, that is massive. But also that I was someone who cared deeply for people and always made sure that they knew it. I love you. But always made sure that people felt how important they were and that they were seen and valued and recognized and affirmed. I think that would be like the biggest thing for me. I don't need to leave money behind to anyone or the degrees are important, but I think it's more so what they mean, not necessarily the piece of paper. I think that's it for me, is that people were strongly impacted by something I did for them. And I don't know that you can be much happier with anything beyond that.
Yeah, I think that's good. Not materialistic, excellent. That's good. Okay, well, I think for my end, I think those are the questions that I had for the day. Basilio, do you have any other questions?
That's it, thank you.
Awesome.
All right, so before we close down, I want to leave you with one last remark, maybe if you want to comment or do a remark. Think about maybe two questions. The first one is going to go, I want you to give an advice. Well, you kind of already did to the parents, but maybe, Erica, maybe to the students now. Let's begin with, we've done this before, but maybe what's an advice that you'll give to the first incoming freshman students that they were in your position? They're like, let's just say they just got, I guess at this point they already received their acceptance letter. So at this point, they're excited to go into the upcoming events that are going to happen in MFOS. So what advice would you give them starting their journey?
I think do everything. Everything. You are here. College is the time to be selfish. You don't have to have a job. You have this entire community behind you. Go and just, even if you don't think, maybe just try it, because there is no other time when you are going to have this much support and opportunity behind you. Just take advantage and know that there are so many people who are looking at you and supporting you that you just need to go for it, and that's the mentality that I carried with me, and it's how I ended up in Sydney, Australia. And I think it's just do it all, because this is the only chance you have to just go for it.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. I think that concludes the interview for right now.
Go Gators.
Go Gators. Jump. Can you go maybe do like a little...
Right over left. There you go. You got it.
Aw, so sweet.
Good job.
Great
Killed
job,
it.
I loved it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
20 out of 20.
Good job.
Wow, 21 over here.
Credit.
Wow.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Wow.
No problem.
That just motivated me to get back to work right now.
All right, so unclip and drop.
And we didn't even talk about Machen.
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 Good thing we didn't. You would have gotten his name wrong. Dios mío. We did.
I know, but...
Have you ever